Those assets are much larger than the public debt. So the net debt is in fact a negative. So it means that we don't have a debt.
This love that reaches to my heart feels so good, don't wanna be apart. Hold me close, don't let me fall away. I thank you for each and every day. This love that reaches to my heart feels so good.
I would like to choose two figures just to summarize what I think is a peculiarity of Luxembourg. First one is the GNI. GNI is the gross national income. It's a little bit different from the GDP. GDP is about, let's say, 80 billion euros per year. And the GNI is about 35% less. In many countries, GNI and GDP are the same figure, but in Luxembourg, as in Ireland, our GNI is much lower. And why is it? It's because GNI measures the income which stays inside the limits of the country. So it deducts from the GDP the income from cross-border workers and owners of capital. So a lot of money is going out of the country. And so the GNI is by, let's say, 35% less than GDP. So that's one of the figures I think is very important. So it's a very high GDP, very high GNI per capita, but still it's a country where a lot of money is coming in and a lot of money is going out. My second number, which is a preferred number I use very often in conferences, is something like 27%. 27% are the Luxembourgers, so the residents with the Luxembourg passport, which are in work, so which are employed. And all the others employees are either cross-border workers or foreigners living in Luxembourg. So we are a tiny minority which is active in the labor market. And from those 27%, half of them are working for the public sector. So it's a number that I very often use just to show how open the Luxembourg, how integrated the Luxembourg economy is. So concerning debt of Luxembourg, normally what is alluded to is the public debt of the government, of the state. We have to distinguish between gross public debt and the net public debt. Why? It's because, of course, Luxembourg has contracted some obligations to finance the functioning of the state, especially after the pandemic and now the energy crisis after the war in Ukraine. And of course, we have a public debt which is something about 25% of GDP. But this is not the whole story, because the Luxembourg state has also assets. So, for example, shares in big companies. And there is this huge compensation reserve fund, which is meant to help finance the pensions the financing of the pension in the future. And those assets are much larger than the public debt. So the net debt is in fact a negative. So it means that we don't have a debt. The risks are that we have to make this climate change, which will cost a lot. And we have to see to finance the welfare state, so pensions, but also health, for example, education, etc., which also will be very expensive. And so the opportunities, according to our numbers on competitiveness, attractivity for the moment, we think, but modeling have to see if we are right and under which condition we are right, that we will have opportunities which will make sure that our growth of income will be able to finance the costs of the investments that we have to do to make sure that we master the transition.
This this love that reaches to my heart feels so